Lesson right here is about being stronger in God's word. This is lesson 2. We're going to talk about commands of heart right now, okay? And right now in this, so in trusting God, we're really deep in Adam and Eve. And this right now, we're really deep in the 10 Commandments right now, okay? We're very deep in the 10 Commandments. And really this lesson is going to be very simple. We shouldn't be too long, about 20 minutes. We're just going to really learn about the true meaning of the commandments, but also how Jesus truly made it easy for us, okay? And so let's talk about this. So it also says in the Bible that the law, it talks about going by the law. So that's like a huge thing in the Bible. Is that there's 2 different things that people think saved them in the Bible. There was people that thought that the law of God, which was a bunch of things of what not to do in their life, was going to save them, and there are people that believed in grace through Jesus Christ of, this love is what's going to save me. And so understand that what we're doing right now, though, is I'm really trying to help you understand how Jesus fulfilled the law. He didn't change it, and that's something that very many people have an issue with, though. They have an issue in their mind with understanding how Jesus Christ's message is so full of love and these different things that God did not give in commandment form to us. But let's talk about it. So actually, let's go to the back. I'm going to read this first, and then we're going to go back through this, okay? So Matthew 22, 37 to 40 says, Jesus replied, "You must love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, and all your mind. This is the first and greatest commandment. A second is equally important. Love your neighbor as yourself. The entire law and the demands of the prophets are based on these 2 commandments." And so I'm going to talk about this today, about how true this really is right now, okay? And how these 2 things are the base for everything God has told you He needs from you. It is this simple for real in your life. Is that if I live my life by loving God and loving one another, it corrects everything. Every way that God wants me to be made whole with Him, it makes me right with Him. And so I'm talking about this. This is a true issue in the Bible and stuff to understand. This is that those 10 commandments and the laws, nobody gained life following that. Nobody gained life following. That's something that in the New Testament it makes very obvious that those laws were not given as saving grace. They were given to us to let us see how sinful we truly are and how we can't go around. Because there were laws all the way down to having sex and pulling out and not doing your thing inside the woman. It's that deep of that there are laws all the way down to that. And that's literally how much, like, following that, we could not be right. We couldn't be right. We couldn't be right. And so understand that, that's something that's very made obvious in the New Testament, is that, like, the laws and the commandments of the Old Testament led to death. But Christ, in His way, has led to life. And so we're going to talk about this. And how, honestly, too, like, we're not made to understand so much. We can't have 1,000 laws and be right. Think about this in this world. We talked about this last time. I think about how, all these countries have these laws of what not to do, and it's chaotic in every country. There is no exact rulage or exact wisdom of this is what you should do to be right in our country. This is a bunch of things of what not to do. But guess what? Prisons are full. People die every day, all the time. People are in mental institutes and strung out on drugs and alcohol and all other types of stuff. And so understand that. Thank you. I appreciate it, buddy. And so understand that, Cash, you can hit the iPad, you can look at yourself in there. So understand that in that time that, this is the fact that you cannot live your life by what not to do. You're going to hover around what not to do. If all you know in your mind is what not to do. So if I tell you to fry some fish and I say, don't use flour, are you going to be able to fry fish if you don't know what to do? Will you know how to fry fish? No. You don't know? Maybe from your ancestors deep down whispering in your ear. But you're not gonna know. If I only tell you what not to do to get something done, you're not going to know how perfectly to get something done. And that was the reason when Jesus Christ came, is Jesus Christ only focused on what to do. He didn't walk around saying, don't do this, don't do that, blah, 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 like this, all these things make you wrong, and blah, blah. He didn't do that. He came here to tell you what to do to be right with God. And that's the true difference between the commandments and the laws of the Old Testament and New Testament, is that the Old Testament is full of what not to do. Don't do this, don't do that, don't do this, don't do that, don't. And what happens is that it says don't murder, okay, but it don't say don't beat you up, so I'm gonna beat you up then. And then it says, well, it says don't commit adultery, but shoot, I mean, I guess I can, we can do a little this and that. That's not really, this ain't that, this ain't adultery, So like, understanding that that's what the commandments of old truly are yes, we needed them to understand what was so sinful about us, what was wrong that we actually did, but they don't lead to life. And so understand that I'm gonna go through this today and teach you about how these two things of loving God with all your heart, all your soul, and all your mind, and loving your neighbor as yourself, complete everything God told you. You don't have to think that hard. All you have to think about is what my love and my faith. That's all you have to think about. And so in this situation, it says about the Lord your God love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, all your mind. And so let's talk about this. The first 4 commandments are simply about loving God. So the first one says, I am the Lord your God, who rescued you from the land of Egypt, the place of your slavery. You must not have any other God but me. I'm going to tell you how simple that is. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, all your mind. You're not going to make any other gods. So number 2. It says, you must not make for yourself an idol of any kind or an image of anything in the heavens or on the earth or in the sea. You must not bow down to them or worship them. For I, the Lord your God, am a jealous God, who will not tolerate your affection for any other God. I lay the sins of the parents upon their children, and the entire family is affected, even children in the 3rd and 4th generations of those who reject me. But I lavish unfailing love for 1,000 generations on those who love me and obey my commands. So you must not make for yourself an idol of any kind or an image of anything in the heavens or on the earth or in the sea. You must not make for yourself an idol of any kind or an image or anything in the heavens or on the earth or in the sea. How simple is this? Love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, and all your mind. And so I'm gonna give you a real world explanation of this too, is that people make idols of so much in this world. They make idols of, what's the newest idol with people think they're free? Sage and crystals and all that stuff, right? They idolize it. But if you love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, all your mind, you're not gonna believe in the power of your crystal and your sage. You're also not gonna believe in the power of astronomy, because he also says an image of anything in the heavens or on the earth or in the sea. And so understand this is actually something I will give you true insight on too, is that like in Revelations and throughout the Bible and in Job, when he's talking about the creation, because in Job, he actually showed up to Job and talked about like the creation of the beginning. And he talks about the sea. And the sea in the Bible is truly a symbolism for the space in this universe, for real. And so that's something that people do, is they worship stars. They worship astronomy and astrology and these things. And he's like, why are you having these images and all you need is the Lord your God? So the answer to this is love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, and all your mind. Number 3, you must not misuse the name of the Lord your God. The Lord would not let you go unpunished if you misuse his name. Love the Lord with all your heart, all your soul, and all your mind. You're not going to disrespect somebody you love. And so understand that what love is patient, love is kind, love is never boastful, rude, or proud. Love rejoices in the truth. Love never demands its own way. Love endures through every circumstance. Love never keeps record of wrongdoing. And so understand that, in this situation, you must not misuse the name of the Lord your God. You're not going to be rude to the Lord or use the Lord in a rude situation if you're loving the Lord. You're not going to be boastful. You're not going to be this proud person if you're putting the Lord first, because he is the one to be proud of. And so understand that, in this situation too, it's really so simple. I really don't have to say so much. It's really this simple. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, all your mind, and you're not going to misuse the name of the Lord your God. You don't have to think about that. Just love him. And then the fourth one, remember to observe the Sabbath day by keeping it holy. We have 6 days each week for your ordinary work, but the 7th day is a Sabbath day of rest, dedicated to the Lord your God. On that day, no one in your household may do any work. This includes you, your sons, and daughters, your male and female servants, your livestock, and any foreigners living among you. For in 6 days the Lord made the heavens, the earth, the sea, and everything in them. But on the 7th day he rested. That is why the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and set apart as holy. And so because we're in Kingdom School, and I told myself too, I'm going to start being more real with y'all and deeper with y'all. I want y'all too to notice also how when he lists off things that he created, the sea is always separate than the earth. Okay? Always separate. But let's keep talking. Like I said, and this says about remembering the Sabbath day. In the New Testament, it talks about this. Is that, he was like, Paul was writing about the Sabbath day and about keeping it holy. And he was like, the argument about what day is the Sabbath day is foolish. He was like, it doesn't matter. But God does not care about which day that you say is holy. He don't care if you say that all your days are holy. He was like, literally, be proud, be happy, be joyful that your neighbor sees any day as holy. So understand that in these situations with the Sabbath and stuff too, the true answer to keeping a Sabbath day holy is this: love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, all your mind. Every day will be made holy for you. You don't have to worry about sitting one day apart if that's what you do with all your mind, all your soul, all your heart. So understand that these commandments and every law that was given, Jesus Christ was not lying. The entire law and all the demands of the prophets are based on these 2 commandments. So, I'm going to move on. Love your neighbor as yourself. The last 6 commandments are about loving your neighbor as yourself. Honor your father and mother. Then you will live a long, full life in the land your Lord God, your God has given you. Honor your father and mother. Honor your father and mother. Honor them. So another word for honor is respect. You love your neighbor as yourself. If you have a child, do you not want your child to respect you? Then honor your father and your mother. Because guess what happens too? He also said he hands down the sins of one generation. He said he hands it down for 3 or 4 generations. So guess what? If you're not honoring your mother or father, your child's not going to honor you probably. And then their child's not going to honor them. And it's a train of sin. And that's how it works in this life. Because that's the thing too, is he says he passes it down, but it's because of his grand design. They only learn from who you are. So they watch you disrespecting your parents. Why wouldn't they think they can do that with you? So, love your neighbor as yourself. That's the thing too, you understand. Your father and your mother are your neighbors. They're your neighbors. They're not these mystical beings that know something else. They're your neighbors. You have to love them as you love yourself. They're not these mystical beings that can just take you beating up on them all the time and shaming them and blaming them for your life. They need your love too, of patience, of kindness, of not being boastful, rude, or proud, of being rejoicing in the truth with them, bringing Jesus Christ to the table, enduring through every circumstance with them, and not keeping record of wrongdoing of what your parents have done to you. They need you to love them correctly. If you want to be loved correctly by your children and have a great relationship with your children, you have to love your parents correctly. So these two things, like I'm saying, I'm gonna keep going down the line. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, all your mind, and love your neighbors yourself. Satisfy everything that God has told you He wants from you. So I'm gonna go down the line one more time. You must not murder. Guess what? If I love my neighbor like I love myself, Kendrick, why would I murder you? Why? If I'm looking at you and see myself, would I kill you? Would I kill myself sitting right there who I love dearly? No. You don't have to worry about killing people. Worry about loving them. You don't have to worry about killing people and not killing and avoiding being a murderer. Just love them. The next one says you must not commit adultery. Guess what? Love your neighbor as you love yourself. I would not sleep with someone's wife because I don't want them to sleep with my wife. Love your neighbor as you love yourself. And it's really that simple for real. But this is what we don't understand is we think it's so complex. We think that there's something, I gotta jump through some hoop for God. He wants me to do something. There's something different in this world He wants me to do. No. The two things He's commanding you to do is out of love. He wants you to love Him and love your neighbors. And so understand this too. You must not steal. What I steal from myself, love your neighbor. I'm trying to tell you, even in everything you teach in your life, when you have kids or whatever it is, teach them these two things. Love the Lord your God and love your neighbor yourself, and you won't have to be pity-patty with so many things in your life. All you have to say to them is that if that was you, would you want that done to you? And it's really that deep too, is we understand too, is that's something that we have to grow and understand. And sometimes that we get in these situations, and when it comes to theft or whatever it is, that, you know, people steal and they don't think about who it's affecting. They steal from a store but don't understand there's a business owner that gave his whole life to have that store. They steal from they rob somebody's car because they need something so much, but they don't know what somebody else sacrificed in their life to get that car. So understand that everything you do in this life, there's an effect of loving someone correctly. So the next one, you must not testify falsely against your neighbor. Why would you want someone to lie on you? Would you want someone to lie on you? Do you think it's love if somebody lies on you? So why would you lie against your neighbor? The next one says you must not covet your neighbor's house. You must not covet your neighbor's wife, male or female servant, ox or donkey, or anything else that belongs to your neighbor. Jealousy. Love your neighbor as you love yourself. Do you want somebody hovering over and being jealous of everything you have? Longing for, lusting for everything that you do in your life? Do you want somebody doing that to you? No. Kendrick, let me help real quick. So, like I said, this one was going to be a little bit shorter, and I'm already about done with it. It's that simple for real. And this is what Jesus Christ said. He said, all who are weary and burdened, He said, come to me. He said, take upon you my yoke, for my yoke is light and easy to bear. And a yoke is, so ox is beat, or ox, I'm sorry, I don't really know which one that one is. Oxen's, okay? Oxen, okay? So oxen, they put they put the yokes on their necks to pull wagons, right? And He's literally telling you everything that you're thinking about to make your life perfect. It's killing you and it's wearing you down. It's heavy. He was like, listen to me. And I'm literally telling you just to love God and love your neighbor, and it takes care of everything in your life. My load is light and easy to bear. And it makes everything right in your life. You don't have to worry about the specific details of being right and wrong. Just you know what's right. Just do right. And so understand that Jesus Christ didn't come here and lie. He told the truth. His load is easy to bear. I had a situation a week and a half ago now when somebody outside my apartment got shot 5 times. And at first my mind was a little bit scrambled for 5 minutes. Not 5 minutes, like 5 seconds. And then I was like, love God, love your neighbor as yourself. Looked outside, seen a man bleeding on the ground, crawling, yelling, went and picked him up. I love him like I love myself. But then you understand too, when you do right by God, you don't even understand what he wants to do with you, putting you on the right side of his will. Because guess what? His will is the book of life. Jesus Christ said, it's not in his Father's will that any of his sheep should perish. So his will is that all of you, everybody comes back home to him. That's his will. He wants to use you to be on the right side of his will. But if you're not living your life by loving God and loving one another, you can't be on the right side of his will. Because what happened is in that situation, I love my neighbor as myself, right? So I picked him up. I called 911. I wrapped his wounds up. I picked him up and took him up the stairs. It felt like Afghanistan outside, but I did it. But then I saw in my heart exactly how God was using me to be on the right side of his will. Because at the end of the day, I started thinking to myself, so when all this had to happen, we were sitting out in the car and I prayed with him for like 10 minutes, right? And nobody came outside, first of all. But this is what you understand too. Jesus Christ's love of loving your neighbor as yourself, that love is rare in this world. Not everybody can look at somebody else and say, that's me. Not everybody can drive into a corner and see somebody stand out there in the blazing hot or in the cold and think, that's me, I need to give them something. Not everybody can do that. And so understand how rare this love truly is. I came outside, man, my parking place is huge. Nobody was outside. 8 gunshots went outside, right outside of my apartment, and there was nobody outside. And then 15 minutes later, when we're outside and I'm praying over him and stuff like that, 2 people come outside. But I'm just gonna talk to you, I'm not gonna give you full details right now. I'm gonna tell you about how I saw me be on the right side of God's will. Pray with him for 10 minutes. The 2 people who came outside, they did not help at all. I asked them to get some towels. They said, we don't have no towels. I'm like, okay, all right. They didn't really do anything, but I did see why they needed to be there. Because guess what? The man who got shot, prayed with him for 10 minutes, was talking to him about Jesus, say Jesus' name. I don't know how many seconds, minutes, time, but he's giving me time, so keep using it the right way, right? So he was affected. I put Jesus in his life. And he's still alive, so I know Jesus in his life. The 2 people that came outside, all they did was saw me pray, saw us pray, and say Jesus' name and give the whole glory and power of that whole situation to Jesus, and that man's alive. That's 2 more people affected by Jesus who now they start to see his will a little bit and come right to him, right? And then a police officer showed up who was like, man, you a good one, man. I don't know if I would have done that. And I talked to him about Jesus now. He led me in that. That's 4. A detective showed up and talked to me. Talked to him about how Jesus led me in that way. That's 5. His wife and his mom showed up to my house 2 days later to talk to me about what happened. Talk to me about how Jesus led me in that situation. That's 7. He has 4 kids that he's going to raise in his life. That's 11. And so understand, even from that situation, now I have this testimony to give to others, which probably reached about 30 to 40. So understand that when you live right by loving God, loving one another, it puts you on the right side of his will. It gives you peace in your heart. Because I could be traumatized right now. I'm not though. I know I did the right thing. I know when I go back to his words, I know what I did was right. I know that God is happy with me. So that's the thing about this whole thing, is that in the law and stuff about what not to do, we know what makes God angry, right? But we weren't so sure about what makes God happy. Like, what actually makes God happy? Well, I'm here to tell you what makes God happy. love God and love one another. That's what makes God happy. And when God is happy, you're at peace. When God's happy, you're at peace. So understand that those two things truly are the base of everything God has been talking to us about, and he wants to do with you, and he wants to put you on the right side of his will, but you have to give yourself to as simple as two things. It's simple. It's two things for real. So